Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Thursday, April the 24th, 2025. Trying to keep my voice on kind of a even even keel here so that I don't start coughing a lot, everybody. Sonny, wow, he's in LA getting ready to have his heart surgery. I mean, I thought it was going to happen. Well, look, tomorrow is Friday. Isn't that interesting? He said he was going to have it on Friday. Tomorrow is Friday. This week has gone by so fast. Carly is there. Brick comes in, and they talk to the surgeon, and he explains what he's going to do. And the nurse comes in and says she has to prep Sonny. Now, while Sonny and Carly are there, Christina they is taking care of Donna at Carly's house, which is good, someplace she's comfortable. Um, they're doing a little artwork, and then they decide they're gonna make a get well card for Sunny. When Christina walks away, little Donna grabs her phone, boom, and video calls her dad. Okay, so Christina hears her talking, and he sees it's Christina, and when he clicks the on, he sees it's Donna. He goes, hey, Donna, how you doing? And Carly kind of perks up and she goes, hi, Daddy. And she's like, what? Why are you dressed like that? And he goes, where are you? He says, well, I'm at the doctor's getting a checkup. So she says, are you going to get a shot? He goes, I hope not. And she's like, oh, I hope not too, Daddy. And Christina runs over and she goes, Donna, it's not good to take people's cell phones. And she goes, hey. And she kind of walks away. She goes, everything is going great here despite this little cell phone issue. Everything is going fine. And so they, chit chat for a minute and then they say their goodbyes. And I got a quick picture of that. So Sonny and Carly say goodbye to Donna, and Christina and Donna say goodbye to them. So that was real cute. Donna is the cutest little thing. Isn't it interesting how all of Sonny's kids have dark hair? That is so interesting. What else is interesting is Dante's son, Rocco, has dark hair. Okay. Even though Lulu's a blonde, Dante Rocco has dark hair. Gio does not have dark hair. And Brooklyn's hair is as dark as it comes. But yet Cody's hair is light. That's interesting to me. I would be interested to know if somehow that baby is Cody's. that some that somehow he and Brooklyn, because Brooklyn was wild that summer, she and Dante weren't in love. They were just teenagers fooling around. That doesn't mean he was the only one she fooled around with. That would be interesting. Now, Gio would have a better home and family life if Dante is his father. But as far as relationships go, and the fallout, it would be better if Cody is his father. But the Scorpios would scoop him up, right? They're a good family too. So, but for Gio's sake, I'm hoping it's Dante. Dante's more stand up, stable guy, realistically. Um, Now I don't know about you, y'all. What do you think about Diane's actions? She and Alexis bring Marco in, and they end up telling him they're gonna hire him, but there had better not be any conflicts at all between their Sonny and Jason and his father. And he says if something ever comes up, I mean, if I need to represent Mr. Corinthos or um, Jason, Mr. Morgan, I would be happy to step in. And Diane is like, oh, no, that's not going to happen. you know, what I'm saying is if there's a conflict, our firm is going to represent our existing clients. And he goes, and I will recuse myself for that particular case if there is a conflict. Because realistically, the firm could not represent both. Let's say somehow Sonny and Sidwell are suing each other in civil court. The firm could not represent both of those. They could only represent one. So they were kind of laying down that law that these are the clients that are going to be represented. So anyway, he was happy to be hired. And Alexis says, "Well, great. Listen, I have to go. I have an appointment meeting with Christina." So Diane goes to her desk and she grabs that stack of files that had the file of the involuntary commitment paper. And as soon as she picked it up, I said, whoa, 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 Diane, right? That's why you don't just shove things anywhere. Why didn't she fold it up and put it in her purse? That would have been better, right? Just in any old file. So Marco grabs the stack, and as he walks away, he sees the paperwork. And he immediately says, is this paperwork supposed to be in this file? And Diane looks at it and she goes, "Oh, no, no." And she takes it. She goes, this is a personal issue. So no. She says, and whatever you may have seen, your discretion comes into play. He goes, "Oh, no." He goes, I really didn't get a chance to see anything. And he actually did it very fast. Unless Marco is a complete speed reader, he pretty much, when he saw it, he instantly turned around and gave it to Diane. So she then puts it in a manila envelope, marks on the outside Davis. And I'm thinking, why are you doing that, Diane? Because you're not taking it to Alexis, right? Alexis told you to shred that, right? So I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? Well, Diane goes to GH, and Rick says, and Molly is with him. He's actually on his feet. She was walking with him around the corridors, around the nurses' station, but they were back in the room. and Diane says she was there because Sonny wants to take Donna to the island this summer for a vacation. And the petition was for the dates of the vacation. So Alexis says, and I wanted you to be able to see the hard copy since you're in the hospital and everything. I wanted to make you aware. This is what I'm filing. This is what the hard copy looks like. So she puts her bag right there on the little, with the little bed table where you eat your hospital food on. Molly's bag was already on there on its side, and it had a manila envelope in it. Diane puts her bag on there, and the manila envelope with the involuntary commitment forms, you can see it standing up right there. Soon as that happened, I said, uh-oh, here we go. There's going to be some kind of mix-up. Well, Diane, as she's gesturing, she accidentally, or was it, knocks over her bag and Molly's bag. So the paperwork's go on the floor. And she goes, "Oh, this is this kind of day." She's bending down. She's trying to get her paperwork. Molly is down, scooping up everything. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, y'all. You didn't look to see what's mine, what's yours. You just grabbing up paperwork and shoving it in your bags. And Alexis took out the hard copy of the paperwork. And Molly says, "Well, you know what? I got to go anyway. I got to get some work done." And Molly leaves, and Diane gives Rick the paperwork, and he looks it over, and he goes, "We'll see about this visitation to the island." I don't, she goes, "Well, you know what, counselor? You confer with your client. Whatever your response is, go ahead and make that response to the proper legal channels. I just wanted to do you this courtesy." And then Diane stopped for a little chit chat. She somehow tells him, "Go easy on Alexis." He goes, "What do you mean go easy on Alexis?" She says, "Well, I mean, I know you have this truce, but, Alexis has gone through a lot. And I'm just saying." And he goes, "I don't need to go easy on her." Yeah, right. And so I forget there's a minor little slip up Diane gave, not huge. But he asked her, he goes, "You know what? Why are you concerned?" Right? And she goes, "Oh, no, no reason. Like I said, I'm just here doing a little courtesy." And when she walks out the room, she goes like, "Oh man, I knew I shouldn't have said that." So as she walks out, Rick is in his bed, and he goes, "All right, Diane. So Alexis told you." He knew by just what the way Diane was acting and the one little slip up she did that Alexis knows what's going on. I mean, Diane knows what's going on because Alexis told her. But Rick doesn't know that Diane knows about the blood. I don't I don't know if he thinks Alexis told her everything. Does she know about that I'm blackmailing Alexis? Does she know that Ava's blackmailing Alexis? Rick doesn't know exactly how much Diane knows, which actually that kind of works in Diane's favor because Rick is going to be busy trying to figure it out, right? Well, earlier in GH, BLQ brings Cody in. Hades accidentally kicked him in the side. Cody accidentally dropped a tray behind the horse and it spooked him. So he just kind of did a little back kick and it got Cody. So they were waiting for Lucas. Lucas was out of the hospital. Well, guess what? Lucas was out of the hospital because little Miss Lulu was interviewing him. He was interviewing him about the whole him being adopted situation going on and how he felt about that and then him he and Brad adopting a child even though it didn't work out. How does he feel about adoption with the whole Wiley situation? And he goes, "Oh, it hasn't," because she goes, "Has it soured you on adoption?" He's like, "No." And then she says, "What about you meeting your biological father later?" And then he was saying it was a rocky start. Julie and I had a roller coaster of a relationship. And during the end of his life, yeah, we were estranged. But one thing I can tell you, Julian loved me. But Julian was very complicated, as you know. And, that complication was what, put a wedge between us. Now, mind you, he's talking about the guy that blew up Jake's with Lulu in it. That Julian. But Lulu is acting like, "Oh, just we're talking about somebody I barely know or didn't even know." Because, see, her mind is on something else completely. Actually, her talking to Lucas was just a part of the I'm a journalist. She already knew Lucas's story and she could care less what he had to say. She's trying to form her own narrative on how it's going to be better for BOQ's son to know, even though he's an adult, no matter what they say, right? And it's going to be better for Dante too. That's Lulu's whole goal. So, anyway, he finishes the interview, goes to the hospital, finds Cody there, and he goes to um, deal with Cody in the exam room. And then when he comes out, she goes, Cody gonna be okay? He goes, yeah, he's waiting for x-rays or something. And so she goes, yeah, we were waiting on you, but they said that you were scheduled out. Or he goes, no, no, no. I had an interview. I was being interviewed. And she goes, woo, woo, interviewed. She goes, for what? And he goes, oh, Lulu. Lulu now freelancing for the Lambview Banner. And she was interviewing me for her first freelance assignment. And she goes, oh, I didn't know Lulu is working for the Banner now. And he goes, yeah. And she says, well, what was she in? What subject is she interviewing you on? She's thinking it's a hospital subject of a doctor, right? And he goes, oh, the article is going to be on adoption. And Brooklyn looks and she's like, okay, okay. Now, Brooklyn and Rocco had a good heart to heart, whatever. He was just telling her because she was saying, now you're going to be here 50-50. You're not going to be with Danny, half the time you won't be with Danny. And he goes, oh, that's fine. He's like, because in his mind, Danny and I go to school together. And I'm still going to be there, whatever their 50-50 split is. He says, Mom, I have prayed for years to be able to come downstairs and see you. And now I can. He says, that means everything to me. So they hug and love, hey, baby. So anyway, Dante comes and picks up Rocco, and they're getting ready to go meet Jason and Danny at the batting range. For sure, Danny. But Jason dropped him off, and Danny said, thanks for bringing me, Dad. I know you probably have to go. It's okay. And Jason looked at him. He goes, well, actually, I was planning on staying. And Danny turned and he looked at him. He goes, really? And he goes, yeah, I'm going to stay. And Danny says, great, I would like that. So they were talking, and Jason was reassuring him that he can talk to him. And how does he feel about now Rocco's going to be leaving the house, half the time he'll be there. He goes, I know this is what you originally, this wasn't the original arrangement. He goes, I know you don't see Scout very much at all. He goes, no, I don't. He says, but, he says, and now Rocco, he says, are you feeling alone? He said, because I know sometimes, Rocco got his mom back and you lost yours. So I know some of your feelings can be mixed up in that too. And he said, Danny, I want you to know it's okay. Your feelings are your feelings. And I know you may not be able to talk to Rocco about your feelings or anybody else, but you can talk to me. He goes, I miss your mom too. He says, and Danny, you and I are a lot alike. We keep our feelings bottled up. We don't talk about our feelings a lot. He says, but you know who got me out of that? Sam. I never talked about my feelings as much in my life as when I was with your mother, Sam. She got me to express myself. So I want you to know, Danny, I understand you. You and I are alike. You could talk to me. And he's like, thanks, Dad. So, Jason is hitting the ball with, against the machine and everything. And that was a real good father son moment. And then Rocco and Dante show up, and Danny and Rocco are using the bats almost like they're lightsabers, fighting each other, having fun. And Jason and Dante were looking at him, and he goes, you know what? They really, really, they're really like brothers. And Jason says, yeah, because I think Dante said that. He goes, yeah, he says they're real close. And look, they enjoy each other's company. And Dante says, yeah, they do. And he says, we got to make sure we keep them close. And Jason's like, yeah, we do. And that was good. See, you got Butthead Drew. He's the only one who can't do what Sam's wishes were, right? So now let's see what else. Oh, Sonny is getting ready to be put under the anesthesia. Doctor told him to count back from 1 to 10. You want to know what I had a problem with that, everybody? He flashed back on Christina, little Donna, Mike, then Carly, Donna again, you know? Not once. Dante, not once did they have a flashback of him and Michael. I don't get it, and I don't understand it. Because out of all his kids, he was closest to Michael. And if you're getting ready to go under, Michael would have been in his thoughts because Michael got hurt because of Sonny. And not that Sonny caused it, but somebody was after Sonny got Michael instead. So yeah, the fire may not have been the last thing in my mind about Michael, but Michael and Sonny were in a very good place. Michael was confiding in Sonny. So you would have thought there would have been a tender moment with a hug between Michael and Sonny. I was disappointed in that, everybody. Just, I really was. So anyway, that's it. Um, One thing I saw in Comment Corner, remember I asked about who burned down Elizabeth's house, and somebody in Comment Corner said Sam did it. Well, if Sam burned down Elizabeth's house, that had to have been something they found out later. Because I typed in on YouTube on who burned down Elizabeth's house, Elizabeth's house, and guess who burned down Elizabeth's house as it originally happened? It was little Cameron. Cameron was playing with matches, and earlier in the episode, she had caught him, and she had scolded him. Little Jake was a baby about 6 months old. Little Cammy Cam had to be about 4, and a little scamper. And so now Cameron Weber, she's Elizabeth was something else. You know you don't play with matches. Now we've talked about that, Cameron. So she went up and put little Jake to bed, and then it showed little Cameron. Oh, he got the box again. He's striking the match. He struck the match. And it lit, and he hears Elizabeth coming. So he drops the match in the trash can, right? Lit match in the trash can. And she's like, Cameron Weber. And he drops the matchbox. She goes, Cameron Weber. We have just talked about this. And Cameron goes bolting. He opens the front door, runs out the front door. Elizabeth goes running out the front door after him. She catches him. She comes back and she sees the whole living room's on fire now. And the front door is locked. It locked behind her. So I guess a neighbor or a friend, I didn't know recognize the character, but Elizabeth called her by name, said, "Can you take Cameron, call 911? Jake is still in the house. I gotta get my baby." So the woman says, "Yeah, okay, yes, absolutely." Elizabeth takes the little kitty chair outside, wooden kitty chair, breaks the window, goes, through the smoke up the stairs, and she gets Herb Jake, and Jake's room is full of flames, and he wasn't crying anymore, I guess because of smoke inhalation. She gets him outside. She goes down them stairs, right past them flames. She gets her baby outside. So she's laying him on the table, and she's trying to listen for a pulse, and do whatever she's doing. I guess he had a slight one. So the lady comes back with little Cameron, and she goes, can you watch Cameron? I have got to get my baby to General Hospital right now. So she takes little Jake. She's rushing to her car, and then it shows Jason come up, and the fire department had put the fire out, and he was worried. He goes, "I'm a friend of Elizabeth. Is she in there?" And he goes, "Nobody was in the house, sir." He goes, "There were two kids in there." He goes, "Nobody's in the house." Oh, the friend came with Cameron, and she tells him Elizabeth took the baby to General Hospital for care. So she goes, she risked her life going in that burning house to save her baby. And she took him to General Hospital. So young Jason, he's rushing now off to General Hospital. So it was Cameron. Now, later on, probably a few years later or so, they rewrote history and it was Sam, but it was Cameron, a young Cameron. So, what was interesting, I was also watching the house. That is the same house. It's the same house Elizabeth lived in. The outside of the house looked a little different, just a little. Uh, this newer version looks a little more shingly, woody-ish. The other one looked a little more modern, but it was the same. When you go in the door, everything was the same. Somebody else in comment corner said Carly used to live in a house like that. I don't remember that, but anyway. All right, everybody. That's it. I'll be back tomorrow for Cliffhanger Friday because I know you all have seen the scenes like I've seen. There's going to be some strange nurse coming in trying to give Sonny some medication and an injection or something in the IV, and he turns and he opens his eyes and looks at her. Now, come on. We don't they're actually in LA, so we think. I still don't know. Is he secretly in that cardiac unit in Port Charles that they threw everybody off? I don't know. So this could just be a nurse we've never seen before, but it could be somebody attempt on his life, but it ain't gonna work. Carly's there. Carly will come into the rescue for something, right? So I'll be back tomorrow for another daily recap of General Hospital.